Welcome to another episode of Mole in the Morning in Gaming News. It is the 28th of September, and we have actually some bigger news today. Not that many, but at least we have some big ones. So I would say that is the perfect time to just jump right into it. And we're not really starting with gaming news, but more like with gaming interested news. Huh? What's that supposed to mean? Well, Intel had their showcase yesterday, and they were showcasing new hardware like AMD did, like Nvidia did, and they actually had some bigger announcements to make. The first one was, of course, the Intel CPU, the so-called Raptor Lake, which is the 13th CPU generation of their AI processors. And let me just show you what those CPUs are bringing to the table. Yep, there you go. Intel has like a new thing going. So the lowest is the Core i5 13600KF. Oh god. And then the highest one is the Intel Core i9 13900K. And if you're like, how? What is this with the cores and the threads? This is a bit weird. With the 12th generation, Intel has been trying to do some changes on how they are basically using cores and what type of cores they are doing, and it works. I know it sounds weird, but it actually works, right? And yeah, it's still a little bit weird, but it works. It works is the point. And you can also see the watt usage. It's pretty much standard at this point. And the price tags, you can see right here. If you're asking what is the price in euro, probably the same. Around the same price as the pound will be. Yeah, probably around the same price, because right now, like, all the currencies are pretty much the same. It's crazy. But yeah, that's what you are getting if you're looking for an Intel Core. I will be honest, I do not. I will probably just look at an AMD. And yeah, that's just that, really. Yep. So that was the first announcement they made, which is alright. Like, again, nothing crazy, nothing to write home about. We kind of expected that, so to speak. But the really interesting part is what happened afterwards, because afterwards Intel also announced their Arc GPUs finally coming out. If you didn't know, Intel was working on their own dedicated GPUs for years, and those GPUs were supposed to come out in April this year, May, something like that, April, May this year. And then they were like, nah, we need a little bit more time, and we have to work on this. And so those GPUs will come out in summer. Now, if you are not living in the southern hemisphere of this planet, you might have noticed that the summer part has been a little bit over at this point. And they have now finally announced that the Intel Arc, or Intel A 7070, is coming out on October 12th. You can see it running here in the background, right there, showcasing some stuff. And yeah, it's coming out in October 12th. And it will cost, well, this is the dollar price. We do not have the European prices yet, but it will cost $329. That is around the same price tag as you can get an RTX 3060 right now, with the caveat that the A7070 will outperform a 360. Like, The 7070 is closer to a TI version of the 360, or even a little bit closer, depending on which game you ask, which options you are using, a little bit closer to a 3070. Now, I know that some people will be like, wait, but the 4000 series is coming out soon. Like, this is their flagship? Yeah, the A77 is their flagship GPU. But wait, it cannot even closely perform to what AMD and Nvidia is doing. Why would I care for this? So, here's a few things you have to understand. They never aimed to really outperform the flagship GPUs of Nvidia or AMD. And the reason for that is pretty simple. This is their very first dedicated GPU. So it is easier to aim a little bit on the lower end of the GPU market, especially if you want to get your product out there. Like, keep in mind, Nvidia, of all the companies, is not this flagship GPU behemoth in the gaming base because of their high-end cards. Yes, they are amazing, and they are the leaders for a reason, right? But what Nvidia has managed, especially over the decades, is that they had always something in the lower price segment where people were just like, whoa, this is really good for the money I'm paying. Right? Like, you can probably ask a lot of people out there telling you a story how they have been using this one GPU for years or even a decade, and they always got good performance out of it. Like the 1050 or the 1060 Ti or something like that. The 970, good old 970. Like, there's still a lot of people who are using that card right now after all those years. Like, Nvidia had always something in a price segment which was very important for people. But, and I said this yesterday on Twitter, normally at this point I would say, nobody cares until you're too late. This is nice to have, but nobody cares. The thing is, people do care. Because Nvidia screwed up. Nvidia screwed up big time last week. If you have missed it, Nvidia had their showcase last week, and it turned out it was a disaster because they announced far too expensive GPUs. The performance increase was not really great, and they tried to hide a 460/470 as a 480, right? That is the 12 gigabyte version of the 480 version. And then people were just looking at it and they were like, what do you mean 480? This is a completely different GPU. This is not the same GPU the 16 gigabyte version is operating in. Like, what are you doing here? Right? And basically Nvidia tried to pull a fast one on the people. And because of all this disaster, good old Intel might have a shot in the medium gaming segment when it comes to GPUs. This is, by the way, 1080p ray tracing, which is recommended for a lot of cards still, that if you're using ray tracing, you better play in 1080p. And you can see Cyberpunk here, Ghostwire Tokyo, which got some new beta drivers, which is very interesting because it apparently increased the performance by 25% just with some new drivers. And this really brings us to a problem. Like, the more people are looking at the Arc GPUs from Intel, the more it becomes clear that it's not necessarily the hardware which has a performance issue, but this is still clearly a software issue. Like, a lot of the issues and a lot of the slowdowns is coming from the drivers Intel has to develop, of course. And also a very important aspect is apparently that you're using this new feature that your CPU is directly communicating with your GPU. I always forget how it's called. Damn it, what's the term? Fast? No. I always forget the term. I can tell you that my CPU doesn't have it. my CPU and motherboard doesn't really have the ability, so I couldn't do it. And apparently, it's super important that to have that so that the Intel Arc is performing as well as it does. And that is a problem because Nvidia and AMD are not utilizing that trick yet. It's very important, yet. We might actually see it with the next generation, that they are also using or fully utilizing that trick to boost up their benchmarks and all that. But right now they are not doing it, and they have some pretty good performance. So we have to see how good it really is. But as I said, if Nvidia wouldn't have screwed up last week as badly as they did, I think a lot of people wouldn't care for this. But believe me when I say, people are desperately looking for a feasible card in a feasible price bracket. And maybe this is it. This is exactly what they want. So we keep an eye out. This is not for me. Like, I'm in the premium segment, right? Like, my GPU is always like the top end. And so for me, it doesn't matter too much. But again, there are tons of people who really look at this right now and go, well, shoot, this could be something I'm interested in. So I definitely keep you posted. Those cards will now slowly get into the hands of testers who can thoroughly do some of their own testing, and I will keep you posted. Yeah, I will absolutely keep you posted. Next news. This is a quick one. But if you have been wondering if the destruction of items will be back in Dead Island 2, as you know, like the more you have used your weapons against zombies, the more your weapons would break, and at some point, well, they wouldn't be usable anymore, right? But, and this is the info we have for Dead Island 2, developers now have been coming forth saying that yes, item degradation and weapon degradation will be in Dead Island 2. So unfortunately, weapons will break at some point, which really sucks. Which really sucks, and they are defending it literally with the sentence, ranged weapons have ammo, so melee weapons have degradation. And it's like, I'm not sure if this is really like a valuable argument, but sure. They are saying we are very generous with it. We want players to explore the full arsenal of weapons. So we have so many great mods and so many perks and so many other things in this game that we want players to cycle through it. It also helps the players can keep a wide variety of tools in their arsenal, so they're never going to be without something they can use. Yeah, here's the problem. I think I had this issue with especially Zelda, The Last Breath of the Wild. Devs, and I really mean it. This is a personal opinion, I know, but I really mean this. Do not force me to switch weapons I do not like. I hate, like, one of the things I have been hating in Battlefield since the inception of this stupid idea is that, Oh, you want to unlock this weapon you might really, really enjoy? Well, here's a stupid weapon you totally hate, and you now have to do 20 headshots while you are on the ground looking at the sky or something stupid like that. I hated this. Not because of like the stupid things you had to do, but the weapon I really don't want to use or I'm really bad at. So if you have a game where they're like, oh, you like the katana? Well, how about you're playing a sledgehammer a little bit? Okay, so your katana broke. Now you definitely have to use the sledgehammer. And I'm like, I'm hating sledgehammers. Stop it. Don't force me to use like certain weapons I don't want to use. And using weapon degradation for making this happen, I don't like that. I really don't like that. The good thing is you can at least have up to 8 weapons with you, and then you can keep another 8 in reserve. So you can have like 16 weapons to swap to, which is alright. But again, it's I never like that. Especially that they are breaking indefinitely, I think is one of the biggest problems I have. Like, that they are slowly degrade, that they are slowly getting numb, that they are losing like some damage. That's all good. That's all fine. That makes sense. But man, again, don't make them break entirely. It's not necessary, you know. So, yeah. But it's there, it's coming. So for everyone who's not a fan of that, be prepared. Yes. All right. Next news, and this is the biggest one for today. This is about Overwatch 2. As you know, Overwatch 2 is coming out next week on the 4th of October. And they made some very questionable announcements in the last few days. Like, as you might remember, they announced that the new Overwatch heroes will be on the Battle Pass. Right? And that if you want to unlock them, you have to go through the Battle Pass to do exactly that. But there's more. Yeah, there's actually more. So today, they announced... Oh yeah, also Overwatch 1 will disappear, right? Because it's basically the same game, just with a few patches here and there. But they also announced, and this is kind of crazy, if you didn't own Overwatch 1 and you were starting with Overwatch 2, you will not be able to play all the Overwatch 1 heroes. They will be actually locked, and you have to unlock them by playing over 100 games. You will gradually unlock them over 100 games. That is one of the dumbest things I have ever heard. I get the idea you don't want to overwhelm the people, right? Like, this is their new player experience. But what you are doing here is basically taking away key characters in the gameplay loop of Overwatch. Overwatch is designed as a hero game where you need certain classes or even certain characters in certain situations, right? Like, Overwatch is still a game where counter is a very strong thing, which happens, right? Like when somebody back in the day, Winston, right? Winston was a pretty good tank, and the best answer to Winston was Reaper. Reaper could just go in and murder Winston, right? Like there were certain characters which were completely like countering other heroes in the game. And so by not allowing people to have like the complete access of the Overwatch 1 heroes right from the beginning, it's a pretty bad decision. Leaving alone the good old finding the hero you love, like that is, I think that is also very important. Like Overwatch has a lot of character, and well, a lot of characters. But no, seriously, like Overwatch heroes have a lot of character. And you will find your Overwatch heroes you really love. Not necessarily your main, but actually characters which you just enjoy if you're not a hardcore player. And to not allow the people to immediately test out the heroes they might enjoy later on is a very, very bad decision. Again, especially for gameplay. Like, we don't know really which heroes will not be available right from the beginning. They will definitely give you some, and then you have to unlock all the others. But just think about it. You were in a pinch there. You need something more offensive with healing, and you want to go with Zenyatta, but Zenyatta is not unlocked, and your team is like, dude, pick Zenyatta. We need Zenyatta at this point. Please, can you play Zenyatta? And your answer is, no, I can't. Not because I don't want to, but I can't. And but Mole, League of Legends is also doing this, right? Like League of Legends, you don't have all the heroes immediately unlocked. Well, first of all, that changes with Game Pass in just a few months. But I get the point you were trying to make here. But as somebody who has over 4,000 hours, nearly 5,000 hours in League of Legends, let me tell you this, it is not the same. Because in League of Legends or in other MOBAs, it's, yes, there are counters, for sure. But what I can tell you is you have hundreds, yes, literally hundreds of characters to choose from. And there are no like real hard counters. Right? Like, when you want to play a support, in Overwatch you have what? 5, 6 supports at this point? 5 to 6 supports? I think they're adding a new one. Like, the new one is a support, so I think we had 6 supports right now. And League of Legends, you have like 20 supports. that is not even coming close to that, right? And so making that point, also, it seems like in Overwatch 2, you cannot choose the heroes which you want to unlock gradually, and the game is basically telling you. In League of Legends, you can choose which heroes you want to unlock, right? So it is not the same thing. Also, a few things they have announced. They've also announced that Overwatch 2 will use machine learning and audio transcriptions to detect disruptive players in the audio chat. Audio transcriptions allow the team to collect a temporary voice recording of the recorded player and convert it into text to be reviewed. And then AI can basically see if you are talking shit on the voice. I know that some people have been pretty pissed about this, and they've been like, oh my god, what about my privacy? Dude, if you don't believe that your phone, probably your TV, your Xbox, or anything else which has somewhere a microphone is recording what you were doing, there's some very bad news for you. Especially if you have an Alexa or like Google something, who knows, right? Like, come on. Don't give me that. But this is very interesting, because Overwatch is becoming a free-to-play game. Overwatch will launch with SMS protection. Starting October 4th, all players across all platforms, yes, even console players, are required to have a phone number attached to their Battle.net account to launch Overwatch 2. I wonder if you can like circumvent this with... No. I was thinking if you could circumvent this with two-factor authentication. I have the Battle.net app on my phone. But I assume this is really to make sure that people are not creating tons of Overwatch 2 accounts. Right? Like if they are banning a cheater or somebody who misbehaves or whatever, it is much, much easier to say, okay, well, this phone number got banned. We will not let you in. Yes, I know there are ways to circumvent this. There are fake numbers, yada, 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 yada. But believe me, it makes it much harder for little Timmy here, who just has been a racist in voice chat, to ban them for all eternity. And yeah, SMS authentication is nothing really new. Like some games are doing it. Trovo has been doing it, by the way, which was a platform I've been streaming on. Like it becomes more and more the norm to technically identify that you are the person. Like if you were wondering what was the answer on people are getting banned and then just creating a new account on the internet, having your phone number somewhere saved and attached to your account is the answer. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. But again, like this is a lot of stuff they are throwing at the people, especially the 100 rounds you have to play to get like all the heroes unlocked if you have never had Overwatch 1. That's a lot of rounds, because a round takes what? About 20 minutes? About 15 to 20 minutes. So effectively you can do 3 to 4 rounds per hour. Well, that's like 30 hours of gameplay, if not even more, to unlock all the heroes. Yeah, not very great. Keep in mind, this is only for new players. If you have already played Overwatch 1, this doesn't concern you. Alright, so the last thing for today we have is not a news in itself, it's a trailer. This is actually something we will cover. We will play it ourselves tomorrow or on Friday. Not quite sure yet, because I don't know when it starts tomorrow. Yeah, I don't exactly know when it starts tomorrow. I only know it starts tomorrow. And we will watch the trailer for the finals. If you like the finals, well, what is that? Well, it's basically how Battlefield 2077 should have been. And I would say we are watching just the trailer. No, I have no clue. I've only heard some tidbits and some small like snippets of the trailer, like 5 seconds long or something like that. But let's watch the trailer and then we can talk about this, shall we? Also, a lot of flashing lights. Beware. So it's a good old battle royale. Yay. Man, that is a lot of cuts. Ooh. That's a lot of destruction. God, I'm missing destruction in Battlefield. Ugh. A lot of grappling hooks. A lot of destruction. I love the foam gun. That looks pretty amazing. Oh, that's a lot of flashing lights. Yep. So, a few things here. A few things. Like, again, this is clearly a Battle Royale, a very stylized BR game. It seems like you're still hunting boxes, right? Let me see. Man, this is 0.25. There's a lot of animations here. Yeah, you have like those zip lines and all that. I love the colorization though. I don't know what that is. Probably the logos of the characters or something. They're calling this pre-alpha footage, and I'm like, dude, this is not pre-alpha footage. This is not pre-alpha footage. It looks too clean for that. This is like somebody said it actually on the internet. This is why a lot of gamers have a very skewed view on what pre-alpha footage actually means. Like, we talked about this, I think, a decade ago, even when I was still working as a journalist. The whole term of beta, closed beta, alpha. Like, it doesn't really represent anymore what they were meant to be. They are being used as excuses and as shields against criticism in a lot of times. And again, what you are seeing here is not pre-alpha footage. This is too clean for pre-alpha footage. So you're picking up the golden box. I first thought that, this is interesting. I first thought, you can barely see the person here. I first thought that the golden box is like the loot crate a player leaves behind when they die. But in reality, I think you are gathering the loot box and get it somewhere. I love the foam gun. That looks amazing. Like, look at this. This reminds me of Prey. Dunk. Ooh. I have to admit, I love the dying animation, that you are literally just transforming into money. And yeah, it seems like the case seems to be super important. I wonder what's in the case that people want that so badly. There's destruction. Oh, God. I want my Battlefield back, man. If you're wondering, wow, this looks a bit like Battlefield. Yeah, it's by basically the original DICE team. And the team who did Battlefield. Like, they left DICE, I think, 1.5 years ago, nearly 2 years ago. And this is one of the games they have been working on. So if this looks vaguely familiar, that's the reason why. Yep. Man, the motion blur and all that. Ugh. I mean, this looks good. It just landed on the personal damage. Like, that the whole building can collapse. That is crazy. I haven't seen this since Bad Company. And I'm so glad that this exists again. Oh, look at that. This is always staying there. The egg. Yeah. Like it definitely looks interesting. They have more destruction. Oh, the foam stuff. Yeah, that could be really cool. I like that. Ooh. Does it make a hole in the street? We would never find out. That's a flamethrower. That looks really good. Like, I wonder how it will run. I really wonder how it will run. Oh, there was a katana. Neat. Yeah, that's the finals. We will check that out tomorrow or on Friday because I don't really know when exactly it will go live tomorrow. Excuse me. But it looks very Battlefield-esque. Yeah, it looks very Battlefield-esque. So cool. I'm definitely looking forward to it. So, with that said, folks, this is the end of Mole in the Morning in the Gaming News. Thank you so much for watching. If you are now watching this on my other YouTube channel, where I always upload my gaming news stuff, please don't forget to like the video and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. We have daily gaming news here on the channel. Also on the main channel, we are streaming from Monday to Friday. We have reaction videos and a lot of guides to MMOs, RPGs, strategy games. That's around my niche I'm working in. And if you just want to stop by to say hi when we are streaming, you can do so, as I said, from Monday to Friday, starting at 8 a.m. ET, which is 1 p.m. UK time and 2 p.m. Central European time. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Mole in the Morning. Bye bye.